So welcome back. As you can see in this module, we are talking about digitization. How do you take your physical objects and then make them digital? Sometimes you want to do this so you can reproduce the objects. Other times, it's just easier to have a digital backup copy. So as we looked in the module, again, just like with storage, it depends on the type of material. You may approach documents in one way and photographs in another. I wanted to show you some of the equipment that you might use. Now, one of the pieces of equipment that I don't have here that I do discuss in the module are office photocopiers. Most of you, if you work in an office, you'll have a laser printer photocopier with a document scanner built in. Feel free to use this for your actual documents, the paper-based records. But be careful about using the automatic form feeder because sometimes that can jam and tear the records. It's much better to scan one document, then scan the next, and then scan the next, rather than using the form feed. Now, if you don't have access to that, you can use one of these types of scanners as well. Now, I have two very different price point scanners. This is more of your entry-level model. I would say in today's market, this was probably $100 to $150, and it's very basic. You open it up, it connects to your computer, and you can scan in grayscale, in black and white, or in color at a good, reasonable resolution. The scans take a little bit longer than a more expensive scanner, but it does the job all the same. You can also step up to a slightly more expensive scanner. I believe this model was about $300 to $400, and it scans at a much higher resolution with more bit depth in the color. As you can see, it's much bulkier, but you can get a much higher quality scan for photographs with this type of scanner. Now, with both of these scanners, they also come with additional attachments such as this. This is the one for this Canon, or in the case of this scanner, they are separate, but these additional plates can allow you to scan photographic negatives or 35mm slides, if for some reason you actually have 35mm slides. Now, in the case of my father, in the 1960s and 70s, he took a lot of photographs on 35mm slides. In this case, I actually invested in a separate slide scanner, which scans at a much higher resolution that you need for individual slides. But again, if you don't have them, you obviously don't need a slide scanner. One of the downsides of using scanners like these are that you have to go document by document, image by image. Now, I did already mention that using a form feeder for document scanning can be dangerous because they can jam and tear the object. Photographs, there is another option. If you have a lot of physical photographs, you might consider investing in something like this. This is what's known as a drum scanner, and it allows you to automatically feed many images. I believe I can do up to 100 at a time in this scanner, which really speeds up the process. As far as a price point, this scanner is about just as expensive as this one here. So now, what if you have moving image materials or recorded audio materials? Well, that's a whole different set of equipment. The photographic scanners and document scanners like this are very easy to access, and I highly encourage you to consider doing it yourself rather than spending the money to have a professional do it. So for audiovisual material, you can do it yourself, but it is a lot more complicated. One way of doing it yourself, if you still have the equipment that you either recorded the material on or the right playback equipment, you can run that through your computer and capture it that way. For example, here's a camcorder tape, and I just so happen to also have the camcorder that this was recorded in. So I can hook up the camcorder via various cables to my computer and digitally capture the objects that way. You can do this with cassette tapes, for audio recording, or even VHS tapes. The problem here is if there is denigration in either the equipment or the tapes themselves, you can cause serious damage to either the equipment or the tapes themselves. In this case, I would actually encourage you to consider using a professional service to digitize these objects. They can be done a lot more effectively. They have the high-end equipment to do this, and it would be a good investment of your money, rather than trying to cobble together a digitization scenario for audiovisual. One last thing to consider are objects like this, or flash drives. You don't actually have to digitize these, as the information in them is already digital. But in the next module, we will get into what exactly do you do with these? How do you get the information back off of things like iPods and flash drives and hard drives so that you can save that material as well?